I know that lots of you don't like reading or perhaps feel that you don't read enough. So let's read together. I'm reading a book at the moment, well, finishing a book as we speak, called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari. I hope I said his name correctly. Did my best. Now, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century is just that. It's such an all-encompassing book of all the current issues and challenges that we are facing today as a global civilization, not just a civilization of a nation, but the world. It takes into account how we got here a little bit, and then what are the future implications of some of these challenges that we faced. How are we going to handle this? What are we going to do next moving forward? But it's really all about the present day and the 21st century. Such a fascinating book. The writer is just amazing. He's weaving through so many topics and fields just effortlessly, and he just does it with elegance. So fun and amazing to read. So I want to share a passage with you that just really hooked my attention. And this is for those of you who maybe don't find enough time to read or don't like reading, maybe like audiobooks better. So just sit back, open your mind a little bit, pay attention, but enjoy yourself. A crucial step on this journey is to acknowledge that the self is a fictional story that the intricate mechanisms of our mind constantly manufacture, update, and rewrite. There is a storyteller in my mind that explains who I am, where I am coming from, where I'm heading to, and what's happening right now. Like the government spin doctors who explain the latest political upheavals, the inner narrator repeatedly gets things wrong, but rarely, if ever, admits it. And just as the government builds up a national myth with flags, icons, and parades, so my inner propaganda machine builds up a personal myth with prized memories and cherished traumas that often bear little resemblance to the truth. In the age of Facebook and Instagram, you can observe this myth-making process more clearly than ever before, because some of it has been outsourced from the mind to the computer. It's fascinating and terrifying to behold people who spent countless hours constructing and embellishing a perfect self online, becoming attached to their own creation and mistaking it for the truth about themselves. That's how a family holiday, fraught with traffic jams, petty squabbles, and tense silences, becomes a collection of beautiful panoramas, perfect dinners, and smiling faces. 99% of what we experience never becomes part of the story of the self. It is particularly noteworthy that our fantasy self tends to be very visual, whereas our actual experiences are corporeal. In the fantasy, you observe a scene in your mind's eye on the computer screen. You see yourself standing on a tropical beach, the blue sea behind you, a big smile on your face, one hand holding a cocktail, the other arm around your lover's waist. Paradise. What the picture does not show is the annoying fly that bites your leg, the cramped feeling in your stomach from eating that rotten fish soup, the tension in your jaw as you fake a big smile, and the ugly fight the happy couple had 5 minutes ago. If we could only feel what the people in the photos felt while taking them. Hence, if you really want to understand yourself, you should not identify with your Facebook account or with the inner story of the self. Instead, you should observe the actual flow of the body and mind. You will see thoughts, emotions, and desires appear and disappear without much reason and without any command from you. Just as different winds blow from this or that direction and mess up your hair, and just as you are not the winds, so also you are not the jumble of thoughts, emotions, or desires you experience. And you are certainly not the sanitized story you tell about them with hindsight. You experience all of them, but you don't control them, you don't own them, and you are not them. People ask, "Who am I?" and expect to be told a story. The first thing you need to know about yourself is that you are not a story. I really want to touch upon some of the things that was said, especially where, our idea of the self, of who we are, is a fictional story that actually our mind just constantly creates, rewrites, updates, changes, and it's so damn true. And we really get attached to this idea of self. I am this, I am that, I believe in this. And it gets embarrassing when you're too attached to it, because you observe yourself and you see that that story constantly changes. You think you're someone and it's so tied to who you are and it's so fundamental to your being, but it's not true at all. A year later, you're a completely different person. You love a completely different human. Like 2 years ago, you were so in love with this woman. She was the one. And, that was your whole identity, yourself. And suddenly you're not with that woman anymore. And self is different now. Perhaps your whole life you were a Catholic and then something changes and suddenly you're not a Catholic anymore. This idea of self is so fabricated and it becomes a burden just to hold on to it as if it's so important. Self, such a grand narrative that I've constructed. We honestly need to just let go and realize that we don't really have too much of a choice of who we are or what we are, in a sense, because free will, it depends what you think free will is. Is free will the ability to act on your desires, or is free will the ability to determine your desires? Because if it's the former, then yeah, we have free will. But if it's the latter, then we don't have free will, because we don't exactly choose our desires. They just kind of spring up on us. And that's my thoughts for the first part of what I'll be reading. And now I'm going to continue with the second part of the reading. And it's about to get juicy. It's about to get juicy, I promise you.